Luchadors and Luchadoras, and greetings and welcome to the third episode of Lucha Libre Figures and Facts, the podcast that examines the history of Lucha Libre toys and action figures, brought to you by Masked Republic, Boss Fight Studio, and the Lucha Central Network. I am Jeffrey Toon, and with me today is my co-partner, one of my good friends, lead designer over at Boss Fight Studio, Erik Arana. Unfortunately, this week, Matt Farmer was not able to join us. We miss him, but hopefully he'll be back for next show. Erik, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. I'm excited that we're recording again. We had tried to get recording over the past week or two.
Yes. And
it has not gone well. So, but here we are. We're back on. And hopefully there'll be a little bit shorter time between the third show and the fourth show.
That's one of the things about podcasts that a lot of people don't understand, is trying to coordinate schedules.
Yeah.
And that's one of the tough things, especially when it's a three-person. You know, it's
three-person on different coasts.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. But it's tough to get everybody lined up. But, you know, we made it work. We're going to get the show out. I'm excited about the show. A lot to go into this week. Actually, you know what? I'm going to have you announce who this figure is, or who the wrestler is that we are talking about this week.
This week, we are discussing the historic, legend, Vampiro.
Vampiro has proved time and time again he is truly one of the top performers.
And his 2000 WCW figure, Unleashed series. That's the specific one we're talking about today, although we'll touch on the other WCW figures as well.
Such an iconic figure from that ToyBiz line. You know, when you think of ToyBiz, a lot of people will think of Chris Jericho as a lion tamer, or they'll think of Bret Hart in the Hitman suit. Those are what I think. But when you talk about some of the most iconic and great figures of that ToyBiz line, you think of the evolution of Sting.
Yeah.
And another one that gets thrown in there is the WCW ToyBiz Vampiro.
We're very lucky today to also have Vampiro joining us for a short interview about the figure and about his career. So that's something to look forward to during this episode today.
Absolutely. Before we get into talking about Vampiro's WCW ToyBiz figure and a little bit more, why don't we throw it on over to our partners at Lucha Central. Take it away, Denise Salcido.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central, where they look at all of the great shows available this week on the Lucha Central Podcast Network. Monday, it's a brand new Lucha Libre Figures and Facts, where Erik and Jeff not only talk about a classic WCW Vampiro action figure from ToyBiz, but they get joined by the superstar himself just days before the debut of his new show on the Al Rey Network, Vampiro Unleashed. Tuesday, Mass, Mats, and Mayhem has part 2 of their interview with Thunder Rosa, and she drops all the goods on being the first Mexican women's champ in NWA, her citizenship, backstage bullies in wrestling, getting out of her Lucha Underground contract, the Women of Wrestling TV series, and more. Also on Tuesday, Wrestle Boss with Fabi Chulo live, covering pro wrestling and MMA from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific. This week, Fabi talks wrestling with Lucha Libre Voz promoter DJ Voz, ahead of the company's huge upcoming iPay-per-view event. And on the MMA side of things, World Sambo Championships competitor Giovanni Varela stops by the show to talk about representing Honduras in the tournament. Head to WrestleBossLive.com to listen live or download it Wednesday across podcast platforms. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Plus, this week, owner of one of the world's largest Lucha Libre mask and memorabilia collections, like literally museums call this guy when they want to do a Lucha Libre exhibit. Christian Cimet joins the show along with general manager of the Perros del Mar brand, Can de Mal as they talk licensing and merchandising in Mexico. Thursdays, it's straight out of the bodega with Papo Esco, and this week Vinny Massaro pulls up to the shop for part 2 of his interview, where the trio will talk about his recent international travels to Mexico and Japan, as well as getting the call to train Cain Velasquez for his pro wrestling debut in AAA. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. Find out what's happening in empty arenas across Mexico, including the new Lucha Time Promotions Weekly TV series and how to watch it, as well as lucha action in WWE, NXT, and AEW. Be sure to subscribe and follow all of your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms. And please be sure to give a rating and review to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
If we're ready, let's ring the bell. Normally, this is the segment that is Matt's. As we said, Matt couldn't join us today, so I threw this together to talk a little bit about Vamp's history. So everybody knows, like, Vampiro, he started as a Canadian wrestler. He was trained by Abdullah the Butcher, which, you know, that shouldn't be a surprise at all, thinking about Vampiro's trajectory. By 1991, Vamp had been wrestling in Canada and was just kind of like, you know, mid-tier, just kind of there. And he went to Mexico, and he risked his whole career to go to Mexico. He didn't speak Spanish. He had no money. He had no plan or didn't know anybody there. Like, he went to Mexico and just kind of risked it to learn Lucha Libre and kind of expand his career. And, you know, he spent 30 years there, you know, after leaving. Like, that's amazing. It's like a more extreme version of, I always make the joke that I was trying to break into comics when I tripped and stumbled into toy design, and it was a good trip, so I stayed there. But like, Vampiro kind of like, he went and risked his career and just was like, no, I'm gonna fly to Mexico and see what happens there. And that's what he did, and it was just, it took off. He does speak Spanish now, but at the time He didn't, from what I understand. You know, he ended up at CMLL, Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, as Vampiro Canadiense, which basically is the Canadian vampire. I may have butchered that pronunciation. I am Hispanic, but I don't speak Spanish very well. And
That's okay. I'm Portuguese, but I don't speak Portuguese. So that's all
good. He was the Canadian vampire for a while, and he was an instant hit. He was a good-looking guy. He had this aggressive style. He had these long braids and these colors, these tattoos. He was ripped. Like, I mean, he was just this instant hit there. Off and on, he would travel to Japan a number of times through the 90s, and he would eventually join AAA in 1996. He also did some other stints in some other smaller companies as well in Mexico. And then in 1998, he would come to America and join WCW. Yep. This is where most American viewers know him from, is his WCW stint. And the figure we'll be talking about today is from the WCW years. While at WCW, he formed different stables with both the Insane Clown Posse, the Misfits. He would form a stable for a brief time with Sting and the Demon, the Brothers in Paint, and which would eventually lead to a very long and quite amazing feud with Sting that went on for a long time, that ended with literally Sting on fire and being thrown off the Titantron. It wasn't called the Titantron at WCW. I don't remember what it was called, but
right.
It was like this, like they were on top, and it was this crazy feud. And it also at WCW is where he probably developed his most iconic look, which is the ghoul makeup with like the kind of all whitish gray with the black eyes and the forehead lines and the cheekbones and all that stuff. Like, that became his kind of most iconic look, I think. I find interesting is while he was at WCW, he also became the JCW, the Juggalo Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Champion of the world.
Yep.
And at one point on WCW on Nitro, he legitimately came out wearing the JCW title over his shoulder and carrying it around. And he said, he was arguing with somebody on the I don't remember who it was with, but he says into the microphone, he's like, "This is the only title that matters in in wrestling," and stuff, like, which I thought was amazing. And because it was just so, especially at that time, to bring one title into another company was like not something that
it was unheard of.
It was unheard of. Yeah, I mean, there was like Ric Flair had done it at WWE where when he came out wearing the big gold, but other than that, like, it really didn't happen a lot. Like it was unheard of and it was crazy. And
correct.
The JCW is like the Juggalo Championship Wrestling, which is of course ICP created and stuff, was actually far bigger than I ever thought or realized until more recently, where I was like, holy crap, this was actually a really big deal in the Midwest. Like, it was kind of crazy.
It's funny you mentioned that, because at the time I was my girlfriend at the time, I should say, her brother was a huge ICP fan, and he was just starting to get into wrestling. So he latched on to Juggalo Championship Wrestling right away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second, Insane Clown Posse has their own federation? What is this? So it was actually him that introduced it to me, because he was ordering tapes, or VHS tapes, I should say.
Yeah.
And that's how I was introduced to it. And I was like, oh, Vampiro was on it. Oh, Rock and Roll Express, my era. I love it.
Yeah, it was a surprisingly big deal. Something that I didn't really realize at the time, because it wasn't televised, and the internet wasn't a huge thing yet. It was still growing. So now, if that happened now, like, we would be able to see it all on YouTube and all that stuff.
Right.
Going back to Vampiro for a minute, like, after WCW, he would return to CMLL and AAA, as all wrestlers return to where they come from eventually. It's just kind of part of the career, the arc that wrestlers take. But he had an amazing stint. Here in the US, he had an amazing stint in TNA with some fantastic feuds, especially with Raven, who's another one of the greats.
Yep.
He would star and go on to be a star and a producer on Wrestling Society X, which Kevin Kleinwalker, of course, knows quite a bit about, because he was involved in all that. He also is one of my favorite half of one of my favorite announced teams with Matt Striker. Yeah, at Lucha Underground.
So good.
Yeah, they were so good. And like, Vamp was like this kind of mix of both color commentator and historian. Like, because he would break out these facts that people didn't know and people didn't realize and stuff like that. But at the same time, he was also like, he was the one who was like, I'm not paying attention to you anymore, Matt. I'm watching the match. Like, he was, or arguing with Pentagon,
and it was such a great pairing. Like, at first you're kind of like, Matt Striker and Vampiro.
Yeah.
You kind of turned your head, and then after episode 1, I didn't even question it. I was like, that's great. They're fantastic.
Yeah, it was so good. And they about a year ago, I believe they did the English commentary on an episode of I think it was Triple Mania, and it was fantastic and amazing to see them together again and doing that. Like, it was really exciting, and I love those two as an announced team. He is semi-retired now, but he is still very active in the industry in both, the convention circuit and doing TV. He's doing the new TV show at the El Rey Network. Also, if you haven't seen the documentary Nail in the Coffin, The Rise and Fall of Vampiro, then you need to watch it as soon as you're done listening to us. Don't turn us off to watch it. But when you're done with us, you need to watch that documentary, because it's amazing.
Going back to, because you mentioned that the very first time you ever heard of Vampiro, it was when he was going to WCW.
Yes.
What was your initial thought? Did you just think, okay, I'm interested in who this is? Like, was there any background, or did you just hear Vampiro's coming to WCW and that was it until you saw him and then you were hooked?
The night we were watching, I was watching it with my best friend Antonio Velez, and we were watching, and when they announced Vampiro was coming, he was like, "You're gonna love this guy. He's amazing." Like, he knew who he was already, and he came out, and it was the first time I was introduced to him. And you know, I always make the joke. One night I was at Nitro, and I was holding up a sign. Sting was one of my favorites at the time, and I drew this elaborate image of Sting on a poster board, and it said, "Real men wear makeup." And it actually got on camera. Like, they, at one point when the Sting came out, they actually like focused on my sign and then panned over to Sting that night. And it's amazing. I wish I had the videotape still, but I don't. But, you know, the real men wear makeup thing was kind of a joke for me, because I loved, you know, Kiss. I loved Alice Cooper. I loved, you know, the Misfits. I loved, like, so for me, like, I was just, you know, Vampiro just fit a mold that I just loved.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I was very excited about. I was very happy with it, and he floored me. And, you know, by the end of the year or whatever, he was one of my favorite wrestlers ever. Like, and he still is to this day.
It's funny you mentioned that, because it was my friend as well who said, "You're gonna love Vampiro," and I was like, "Who's Vampiro?" He's like, "He's coming to WCW." Like, the rumors are circulating, because he would read the dirt sheets on the internet, you know, 1998 dirt sheet. He'd get into his AOL email box. But he was like, "You're going to love Vampiro." And I'm like, okay, you know, all right, cool. And Vampiro came in, and he wasn't wrong. You know, Sean was right. He blew me away. Just his look, his presence, his matches, it fit.
Yeah.
And it just resonated. He had that Misfits look.
Yeah.
I'm a Misfits fan.
Yeah.
You know, so this is like gold right here, you know. So just like the Kiss Demon.
I loved him too. Dale Torberg was amazing.
Yeah.
I realized he was Bryan Adams first, but I don't think he ever wrestled as Bryan Adams. I think it was only he only wrestled as Dale Torberg. And I was a big fan of the Demon too. So
yeah, exactly. Because I'm a Kiss fan.
Yeah,
my very first concert was Kiss, you know, so like, I love Kiss. So the Kiss Demon, again, music, it resonates with me. So hitting.
What tour was your first Kiss concert?
That was the Revenge tour.
Nice. I saw that one. My first tour, I believe, was Crazy Nights that I saw.
Oh,
I love Kiss. I've probably seen them like 10 times. I've seen Alice Cooper more.
I've only seen Machine Head more than I've seen Kiss, but that's a whole different, that's for our other podcast, right?
Yeah. We can talk about that later.
but again, it was my friend that told me about Vampiro, just like your friend told you about Vampiro.
Yeah.
And it when he came in, it was awesome. I flipping back and forth, the channel wars, you know, between USA and TNT.
Yeah, it was USA.
Watching Raw, watching Nitro.
That's
you know, Nitro would come on after Raw, because we had a West Coast replay at 8 o'clock. Oh,
okay.
So it was awesome. Loved it. And when he came in, I thought it was fantastic as well. Yeah. So
he blew me away. And, you know, fast forward, you know, 30 years. And I met him last year at Expo Lucha, and super nice guy, great guy, great to talk to and stuff. And, you know, us discussing the toys and the figures, and he thought our Vitruvian Hacks figures were really cool, and they kind of fit right in with his like dark persona and stuff, which isn't an act. Like, it's kind of who he is. Like, he's this, you know, like punk rock dark witch guy. Like, you know, like it's pretty cool. And I think that's why, you know, like he clicked so hard with me, as it wasn't because, you know, for me, like the other guys, and this is a hot take, but like I was never a huge Undertaker fan. Not that I don't, you know, respect the guy, I do. But like, it never really, I always thought it was like trying too hard to be that. And in fact, my favorite era of Undertaker was actually the American Badass era, because I felt that's who he really was. Like that felt more authentic to me. But with like Vampiro, that's who he really was. Like, it wasn't an act. Like when he came out with ICP, or he came out with the Misfits, or he came out by himself, like that's who he was. He was always that guy.
Right.
And I thought that was really freaking cool.
You know, talking to you is like talking to my brother. My brother is the biggest Kiss fan. When's
he coming on the show? Well, like, when's he, like, he's...
I don't know. I'm getting you and Chris on because Scott is all in on G.I. Joes right now.
Oh,
but
Chris and I will talk some G.I. Joe.
I got to set this up. Chris and I need to sit down and figure out Zoom. But before we go into Vampiro figures, Erik, we need to go into luchamasks.com.
Yes. We have to take a short break for luchamasks.com. I have a few of these masks myself. I literally actually, here's one of them is sitting right here, the Los Rudos mask. And you know, I am actually immunocompromised, so I actually don't leave the house without a mask right now, and I leave the house as little as possible, luchamasks.com. Go.
Lucha-masks.com, in partnership with Mask Republic, give you personal protective masks to keep you lucha strong in the fight versus COVID-19. With world-class luchadors Blue Demon Jr., the Lucha Brothers, LA Park, Ultimo Dragon, Cain Velasquez, Conan, and so much more. Head to lucha-masks.com and you too can become a masked warrior. Lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
They are fantastic and so comfortable. I got 4 of them.
Yeah.
I've got 4 of them. I got 2 Ultimo Dragons, one in the green, one in the blue. I also have the Penta, the one that they had to re-release because they sold
the Penta one's gorgeous. Yeah, right away it was gone.
But my very first one and the one I wear all the time is my Great Sasuke one.
Nice.
That was the very first one. I saw they had the Great Sasuke. I was like, all right, here you go. Here's my money. So luchamasks.com, check them out. As we mentioned, we sat down with Vampiro to discuss his WCW figure and a lot more. So, Erik, I think it's time to roll that interview. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to have a very special guest with us this evening to talk about figures and toys in general, the legendary luchador, Vampiro. Vampiro, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very, very well.
Thank you very much for inviting me on your show. It's very kind of you.
Well, thank you for being here with us. I
had no choice of Kevin blowing up my phone at 3 a.m.
That's why we love Kevin.
Yeah.
To say this is special to us is kind of an understatement. I've said it before, I think, on a couple of other podcasts and stuff, but last year I met you at Expo Lucha, and no, you were awesome, and I don't mark out for people a whole lot, like, but it was really hard for me I was actually afraid to come up and talk to you, and it was our marketer at the time grabbed you and kind of pulled you over, and then grabbed me and pulled me over to you and kind of forced us to talk. And then you and I we talked for a while off and on throughout the whole weekend, and it was fantastic. But like I said, I don't usually mark out for people in general, but you have been one of the guys I've followed since I was in my 20s, way back in the day. You clicked with me when I first saw you the first time I saw you was at WCW, which is where I was introduced to a lot of the luchador, Lucha Libre style, and you really clicked with me in a way that a lot of the other, like, dark, finger quotes, dark, like, wrestlers, like, the Undertakers and the Broad and all that, they didn't click with me that way, but you, that's what
happens when you're not a gimmick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it seemed genuine with you, and over the years I found out it was. I was a metalhead, and my favorite singer and performer is Alice Cooper, and I love the Misfits, and I love, like, all of that type of stuff. And so when you came on, it seemed so authentic and it seemed so real that it just clicked with me, and you became easily one of my favorite wrestlers of all time instantly. So it was very hard for me to carry on a conversation with you at all at Expo Lucha last year. So it's a huge honor for me that we're working with you at Boss Fight Studio, and that you're here on the show with us today. So thank you.
I'm at it. See ya. I'm trying to solve the problem, and I just think I just did. Forgive me for that. I appreciate you saying what you said. I don't really do a lot of these things, and I'm kind of antisocial and all that stuff. And when I do, I'm interested in what you have to say. I pay attention to it. So I appreciate you sharing that with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you also a metalhead?
I don't know. What's a metalhead?
Like heavy metal music, Misfits, Metallica, Megadeth?
Yeah, I mean, I really love rockabilly music. and punk rock, you know. I've been into punk rock since the first wave of it, you know, since the late 70s. I got in right at the tail end of it. So transitioning, you know, alternative music, bands like Ministry, Nine Inch Nails, and any hardcore punk band. So that's pretty loud music, you know what I mean? Motorhead, all that kind of stuff. So
yep.
There's older guys like me, when we hear all these new names for what we call rock and roll, it's just kind of like, it's like if you're asking me that I like loud, aggressive music, yeah, for sure, no doubt.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I was a Pantera and Slayer fan, so I totally get it, man.
So you get it. You get it.
Vampiro, would you like to go into your new show on the El Rey Network?
Yeah, I'm here. Whatever you guys want to talk about. Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed as a mother. You know what I'm saying? When I got when I got diagnosed with the Alzheimer's thing and the beginnings of Alzheimer's and the Parkinson's and the PTSD. I mean, I've been sick like this for about 17 years, but I was misdiagnosed, and they just kept giving me pain pills and anxiety medicines and other drugs to kind of, you know, subdue me. Mm-hmm. Or sedate me. And when I finally got diagnosed, I was near the end. I was 360 pounds. I was dying. If I would have kept going, I would have been dead 3 years ago. There's no doubt about it. When I got diagnosed, I went vegan, started using medicinal marijuana, stopped all the pain meds, moved to Las Vegas, and started with treatments, because that's where a lot of fighters go. You know, they have head trauma, boxers and stuff like that.
Right.
And it worked for me. And then I really got into a whole new lifestyle with spirituality and meditations. I became a professional practitioner of ritual magic. And because of that enormous change and the facing my dilemma head on and beating it, I was blessed with the TV show. And now I have a talk show, and we just did 6 months worth of TV. Wow. And yeah, it's unbelievable. Didn't expect it. So would you like to go into you go in depth regarding the head trauma, and you go in depth regarding everything you've been through? What's that like? I mean, just having to relive all that. I think it's awesome. I think it's incredible. I mean, one, because everybody's so misinformed. It's just like we were talking about this virus. And I remember when I went to Egypt one time, and you know, you have this impression of their religion, you know, Muslims mm-hmm. and things like that. And you're kind of like, what am I getting into? Mm-hmm. It ain't like, they're the most friendliest people that you can even think of. And they don't even know that the United States or Canada exists. They don't care. So when I saw that, that's kind of like when I get scared or freaked out, I just remember that moment, because having head trauma doesn't mean so what? Alzheimer's, big deal. Parkinson's, well, yeah, I've been in the ring for 40 years. What do you expect? But it doesn't faze me. It doesn't bother me, because my lifestyle and, you know, with the guardian angels and things like that, and being around people who have, you know, in the streets, people who have mental health problems and drug addictions and things like that. None of this phases me, because I grew up, my mom is a mental health nurse for going on 55 years. So it doesn't scare me. And I love it, because everybody thinks I'm different, but I'm not. But I'm a role model for so many people who have the same afflictions, and they're so scared to pursue their dreams. And I'm like, everybody else telling you can. Of course you can. That's what's going to make it even sweeter with your victory, because what everybody's telling you that's wrong with you. Well, would you rather be like them? You know what I mean? Stuck in their shoes and their boring life? No. So everybody's like, why are you so open with this? Well, why wouldn't I be? I get to read the same book twice, 3 times, 5 times. It's new every time. I play the same video game for a whole year, and I don't even know what the hell is going on. It's totally awesome. Mm-hmm. And I've met so many great people. And yeah, all right, Alzheimer's. It's not that bad, man. I mean, it really fucked me up. I was sick. before I knew what was wrong. But as soon as I started eating correctly, the great supplementation and stuff like that, my brain is fine. I've got 4 projects going. I'm in 2 movies right now. I'm shooting another movie in Spain. I got the TV show going on. I got a bunch of products coming out. I got a web store opening up. I'm writing a book, and I play in a band. I mean, what's wrong with having Alzheimer's and Parkinson's? Look what I'm doing. I'm doing everything.
You're living a great life right now.
Yeah, it's inspirational. What you're doing, it's fantastic.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm inspired by the people who also have different afflictions or whatever it is they're going through, and they take the time to reach out and tell me, don't stop doing what you're doing because you're helping us. That helps me. So it's an amazing feeling to touch so many people and to be touched by everybody. You know what I mean? I'm in such a different place right now. I'm so happy, man. I really am.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
And we're over here. We're happy for you too, man. We really are. Going back to your WCW days, do you remember your very first action figure? Do you remember holding one of the WCW ToyBiz figures?
I remember doing the mold. I remember saying to my mom that it's better done than any of the other dolls. It's more detailed. The tattoos are exact. The pants, the writing on the pants, that's a Japanese prayer. The jacket, those pants. One of the guys in Michinoku Pro Wrestling gave me his pants, and I copied that prayer. That's that prayer is so old they can't even translate it anymore.
Amazing.
And
wow.
The jacket is a copy of Jerry Only's jacket that he gave me when I was in the Misfits. So it's got some pretty authentic things on there, right? The tattoos are to a T. They're exactly my tattoos.
Gorgeous. Yeah,
I mean, they did a great job, and that mold of the face, that they actually did the whole thing of my head. So it's amazing. I don't own one, but it's pretty cool.
They didn't hand them out to you at WCW?
I gave them all away. I went to Germany
Gotcha.
one time. When WCW closed, I bought the whole stock. I think I bought like 3,000 or something, and I went to Germany and I gave them away. I was going to sell them, and I saw so many kids that were just so excited to see me. I was like, fuck, I can't take your money, man. And I just gave them away.
Amazing.
Did you ever talk to a lot of wrestlers about their figures or anything like that? Or did the conversation of toys ever really come up in the locker room at that time?
I mean, there was just so much arrogance there. That whole WCW experience for me wasn't that great. It gave me a lot of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
It was a dream to go home and sit with some of my friends and say, look, do you remember when we were dreaming about this? So look at this. So it was pretty cool. But the other guys, like, I had been in Mexico, in Japan, right? So I came to the United States, and I was so blown away by the etiquette in the dressing room and the wrestlers' mentality. I was like, you guys really suck as people. So there was, I didn't even want to attempt to talk to them. So no, I didn't really get into it with anybody, man. I just didn't want to be around that. They just suck.
And you had a figure
before
this.
I said that all those motherfuckers in WCW suck. You all suck, and you know where to find me. Just call me up. Not a big deal, yo.
But yeah, you had a figure before this WCW figure from the CMLL years, the Kellyanne figure as well.
Yeah.
So you were ahead of them already anyway.
I guess. I mean, I don't know, you know. When the Mexico one came out, I didn't understand it, and you can see some covers have the full face paint, some don't.
Yeah.
Because I was literally in the bathroom, and they were like, "We got to take a," and I was like, "What do you want?" The click. So that's how that happened. They said, "Well, we got a doll coming out," and I was like, "Of who?" And they were like, "Of you." And I was like, "Okay." And like a week later, there it was, and it was pretty cool to actually have that. There's not a lot of them out there. I don't have that one either.
I've been trying to get one.
WCW doll. Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. I don't even know where to look for those things. But the WCW one is and because I would do a spin kick off the top rope, that's why they made the doll do the kick.
They gave it the action.
It also explains why. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah. So I mean, how cool is that? You know what I'm saying? And then because of the hardcore image, I didn't really do a lot of hardcore matches, but they heard the word hardcore punk rock. So they thought hardcore. They just didn't understand a thing. So they put a ladder in there and a garbage can, And then I think there's one version that has a tattoo and the t-shirt. The t-shirt is an actual tattoo. It's that tattoo there.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually did it well. And the tattoo is this tattoo here. So that was mind blowing to me. That was pretty dope.
Yeah, that t-shirt one is gorgeous. Great figure.
Did you ever have any say that went into the figure at all, or was it just all the makers at ToyBiz?
I had zero say. Nothing.
Zero say. Yeah.
They didn't really want, I was one of the only new guys that got that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't care. They didn't care.
Okay. That sounded like WCW back in the day.
Yeah. It kind of, that's the same story we heard from Conan as well, that he had no say and kind of didn't really know what was happening at all with his figure at ToyBiz as well.
Now, also going into merch, did you ever have any say in merch as well, or was it all WCW?
I think there was only the mask, the doll, and the t-shirt. But then, no, that's not true. They came out with wristbands because I wore wristbands. They put that I did. They said I had say in the wristbands. The t-shirt on the back, that's my tattoo as well. So I don't remember if we discussed that, but no, they didn't really talk to us at all. Just one day, hey, you're getting a push. Hey, you're on TV. Hey, we got some merch for you. And I was
that's like, so weird.
that's I'm telling you, that's how it was. There was no.
That just follows everything that everybody's always said about WCW is there was no structure. There was structure.
That's not true. There was structure.
Okay.
I'm good friends with Kevin Nash now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. But back then you had about 8 or 9 guys that were the Millionaires Club. And because those guys had so much money, they were treated differently. And they formed a little group. And if X superstar, you told him you have 3 minutes to your promo, and he says, no, I need 12. He took the 12 minutes. It's live television. They had to rewrite the show in gorilla position because, and I'll never, and how do I know this? Because I was supposed to go in the ring. I had a 12-minute match. And as my music was playing and I was going out the door, they said, take it home. And I said, what do you mean? They said, get in the ring, take it home. And it was in Philadelphia. It was against Disco. The match was like 1:30. He pinned me. I walked out of the arena and got into a cab. I didn't even go back to the dressing room. I just got my stuff and left. It was like that, not just for me, for everybody. And I just don't want to be around that, man. No. But it was like that a lot. Yeah.
Was there ever?
But I was lucky, man. I was very lucky. I got to work with Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. I became friends with all those guys after, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, all them guys, Fit Finley. I was very blessed. I did a lot in a short period of time,
I'm pretty intrigued by your show about the head trauma and all that stuff. Has any wrestler ever come to you about the head trauma or anything like that? Or like they heard your story?
They're starting to, but the TV show is like a talk show. Mm-hmm. So I have people that have nothing to do with wrestling, politicians, actors, everybody in the Latino community, musicians, political analysts, people who ran Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton's campaign, Obama's campaign. I'm like, I'm interviewing these people. Mm-hmm. and we just started talking about, the social problems and stigmatisms in the Latino community, and then the mental health that comes with being an illegal immigrant and things. And that's how we got into it. So we attacked it from a different angle. Mm-hmm. And they were very surprised at how much I know about it. And I just want to get away from wrestling because I don't want to be just the wrestling guy who is talking about mental health. The problem is huge. It's worldwide. And it's in every corner, right? So I really, really want to make sure that everybody knows Vampiro, who used to be the wrestler guy, is now this talk show host talking to this. I mean, when Danny Trejo was on the show, we did a cooking show.
Amazing.
Everybody talks to him about prison and bull. And it was like, yo, mother, I got your cookbook. How the do you make that? And it was just like that. It's a whole different thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So once the TV show goes along with this other project I have, which is why we're doing the doll, is because I'm getting back into wrestling 100%, but only as an independent wrestler. I could give a shit about the big companies. It doesn't mean a thing to me. I want to get out on the road. I want to meet people. I just bought a brand new RV, so I'm going to be on the road for the next 4 years, doing every Comic-Con, HorrorCon, punk show, wrestling show, everything I can get to, because I just want to be involved and enjoy something I didn't get to enjoy, because Vampiro became famous from day one. I didn't get that chance to hang out and interact with people and hear their stories and ask them questions and say, thank you for coming on out, you know? So it's a whole different animal. So your doll, because Kevin wanted, he said, you know, the retro whole, and I was like, all that, brother. It's not what I'm about. So it took him forever to convince me. And then I thought about the WCW doll, how everybody's always asking for it. And he said, would you like to make a new one? And I thought, you know, I've got all this stuff happening. I said, yeah, it would be so awesome, because all the other guys who are claiming to be so famous right now, I don't see their dolls anywhere.
Well, we you know, our goal is to do right by you and your history, and that includes now and the past and everything. And you know, when it's time, you know, we're perfectly willing to jump into the, you know, who Vampiro is right now as well. So
I'm just a guy, man. I'm just a guy who had a lucky break, and all my eccentricities transpassed into my character. I mean, I'm a professional practicing ritual magician. How many people do you know anybody else who does that for a living? You know what I mean? It's like, what do you do? Well, I do ritual magic. I talk to angels. So, you know what I'm saying? It's awesome. I love my life, man. I couldn't be happier. When this doll gets out, you best believe I am going to have it everywhere. I will push it till it pushes back.
So your last figure came out in around 2000. Have any other companies come to you looking to make action figures of you?
Yeah, a few times, and I just don't care. You know, if I don't have anything to say, it's best not to say it. You know what I mean? It's best not to speak just to be heard. If there's something going on in my life that merits something, like a t-shirt or anything, right? Then yeah, let's do it. And I knew this push was coming, and I know I'm remotivated, I'm reborn, all that kind of stuff, however you want to call it. And it would be just so dope to have a new doll, right? And because it's another thing when I can talk to a kid, say, look, at 53 years old, I'm broken. I can't even walk, but I got a new doll. So don't tell me that your life's over. Don't tell me that you can't make it. Don't tell me that you're stuck in a rut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't ever let anybody tell you can't.
It's the positivity in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I watch, you know, you put up videos nearly every day on Facebook, both live and recorded, and I watch them almost every day, and I freaking love them.
Thank you.
And they are just amazing. And for everybody listening, if you're not following Vampiro on Facebook, you absolutely should, because he is so positive, and his message is so amazing, and it makes you feel good to listen to.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Really. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vampiro, from us over here, we thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you.
Well, you're not done yet, Miles. Tell me about this goddamn doll you're making. I'd like to know about it.
You know what?
Don't go all WCW on me.
well,
Erik, I will turn that over to you.
So this is the first announcement that we're Boss Fight is actually putting out, is here on the show. And
was I not supposed to say?
Oh, no. We had it planned. We were planning to reveal this today anyway. So
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. We even though I am one of the partners of Boss Fight, you know, I'm one of the owners of the company. I'm also one of the head designers and art directors. The show is not actually connected to Boss Fight. The show is connected to Lucha Central. So there is, but of course there's some crossover. So yeah, we, you know, Boss Fight and Master Republic, we're very dedicated to this Legends of Lucha Libre line, and Vampiro you were on our hit list from day one. We really wanted you, and as I said earlier, I'm a huge fan, and my goal is to promote you, promote the company, promote all of us together, and make all of us some money, but also do something really cool to put in the hands of everybody. Like, that's what it's all about. So our first Vampiro figure that we're officially announcing is from Wave 2 of our Fanatico series, which our Fanatico series has a little less articulation than our premium figures, which our premium figures are very expensive. Our Fanatico's figures will be less so. But the detail and the scale is all the same. So you'll be able to, this Vampiro will fit fine with the Pentagon Junior and the Ray Phoenix that we have coming out, that we're kicking off the line with. This era look that we're going at predates WCW, this first figure. It's the CMLL years era look with the long red braids and the black and red tights, the tattoos, the less makeup. I think at the time you only had like the strips, the like dripping from the eyes type of look.
Alice Cooper.
Yeah, hey, yay! I love that man. And, so yeah, we're very proud and we're very excited to bring Vampiro back to the toy shelves for the first time since 2000. Is that when the WCW figure came out?
Yeah.
We do have we have premium Vampiro planned as well.
Oh, cool.
So we will be doing in addition to this, the Fanatico series, the more basic figure, we'll have a fully articulated accessories, extra heads, extra hands Vampiro coming as well.
Well, you better email me. You got my email?
Yeah, you'll see everything. I don't have your email.
No.
But
it's here. It's not too tough, and I don't care. Vampiro@vampirotv.com.
Nice. Okay, I will.
Yeah,
loop into
email me because no. Email me now, because
okay.
I got to send you what my new gimmick looks like.
Oh, absolutely.
No one's seen it except me and the guy who was making it. So if you're even thinking about, it's pretty mind blowing, dude.
Yeah,
it's pretty mind blowing.
We have Kevin and I have talked about a couple of different plans, and of course, nothing will move forward without your approval and everything like that. But we have the line, we have like the whole line like kind of mapped out, loosely mapped out. Of course, things will change for the next like 2 or 3 years for all of Legends of Lucha Libre, and I think you make an appearance repeatedly in different segments of the line. As
cool.
different
Thank
things. You. So as we get to those figures, you'll see concept first, which is just usually photographs, and then you'll see artwork, which is usually done by me, pencil art, and then you'll see sculpt, and at every stage you'll have approval. So you'll be able to say, tweak my eyes, change this, maybe we should do a different makeup look, or maybe we should do a different hairstyle or something. Like at all those stages you have you have approval for it. We want this to be what you want out there as well. Like we said earlier, it's the first figure since 2000, first Vampiro figure since 2000. And I guess Kevin was telling us earlier that Wrestling Society X wasn't around long enough to make toys of, but Lucha Underground was. And right before Lucha Underground kind of vanished, they had signed a deal with Masked Republic to make product. So there was almost going to be product from Lucha Underground, and I would imagine that you would have been included in that line. I have to say, I love a lot of your matches and stuff. Some of your amazing feuds with like Raven and Conan and all these other people. But one of my favorite matches of yours ever was you versus Pentagon Junior at Lucha Underground, because it was so emotional and it shocked everybody. Nobody saw that coming, and it was so brilliant. And I just gotta say thank you for that match, because it was so great.
Oh, thank you. I always say to myself, what are we gonna do next in wrestling? Everything's already been done. You know what I mean? How are we gonna keep them? You know what I mean? That one, we didn't even tell Pentagon until the day.
Amazing.
Yeah, we kept. There's probably about 4 people who knew.
Fantastic.
And nobody knew. The finish, nobody knew. Pentagon knew as he was going to the ring. I think they told him.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody knew. Nobody knew. And it was supposed to be a 9-minute match, but I made it 32 minutes. That didn't go on TV. And I knew that it was wrong, but the reason I did that is because you had to be there. What you saw on TV, that wasn't the match. You had to be there. The match sucked. The people, the building was like this. When I was coming down the stairs, it was like this, and I was walking, and the stairs were going up and down. And I thought to myself, I'll never have this moment again where I'm so enclosed, the people are so close, and this is it. Let's make the building fall down. So I made the match long. You should have seen the store. They were like long. And we had people crying. So it was awesome. It was probably if I had to say what was my legacy match, that would be it. Live, not the show it on TV.
That match was
it was a war.
Yeah, it was like a psychological thriller, like to watch. Like it really messed with everyone's head. Like, I remember watching it, and when you first came out on TV, you came out and you had like the kind of like dark Pope thing going on and stuff, and I was just like, I had chills. Like I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And then the match just was amazing, and there was fire and so much blood. Like,
yeah, I mean, I've bled more, but that was pretty bad. But I'm a big fan. Do you remember Bob Probert, hockey player, passed away?
Oh yeah, Detroit Red Wing, yeah.
Yeah, like he was the greatest fighter ever, and I loved him. So I went into that match and I told Pentagon, "Hey man, I'm broken." I said, "I'm gonna do certain things, and you just kind of." Just pay attention. So my idea was to have it like a Bob Probert hockey fight. That's why I kept the gear on, and it was just all over the place, and it looked like a mess as I was fighting. And I did that on purpose because on TV, when you see hockey players, they pull their sweaters off and the gloves go flying. Yep. It's pretty animated. And I thought everybody else is flipping and flying and jumping up balconies and getting slammed through the ceiling and all that stuff. And I'm like, let's let the people see a fight. A street fight, like you.
Yeah.
No choreographed here. He says, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Brother, tighten your jaw and give it back to me because it's coming." And it was just, it was just one of those things that, because I've been doing this for 40 years. I said, if you get signals from the back to stop it or the referee, you pay attention to me. And I'm going to make you famous.
It worked.
You think?
He's a little famous now.
Well,
yeah, he's doing okay.
Yeah.
But this whole thing was the brainchild of Christy Joseph. This was his, because when we were, it was the beginning of the season, and they were going to fire Pentagon. He didn't get it. He couldn't fit in the United States. They said to me, "What do we need to do to convince this guy?" So I started working with him and talking to him and telling him the things that you do as a heel in Mexico, you cannot do here. You can't get mad. You can't turn to the people and ask them to applause, and you can't punch you stop being an amateur. Just the more you tell the people to go themselves, that's when they love you.
Yeah.
Because you're not waiting for the applause. That zero miedo. Just be rude, be arrogant, be a bad mother. I'm telling you. So that took us a year. And then it was like, nobody wanted to work with him because they said, "So what do we do now?" And I said, "Well, he needs to beat somebody famous." I beat Sting. I beat Hulk Hogan. I beat Ric Flair. In order to make somebody, he's got to beat somebody. Nobody wanted to do the job for him. All the so-called superstars who apparently understood that this is a business didn't want to do it. So I said, "I'll do it." And they were like, "Can you wrestle still?" And I was like, "I don't know. Who cares, Just give me a bottle of Jägermeister, some pain pills, and let's go." And we worked a year and a half on that storyline, and nobody knew nothing. Nobody knew. Not even that. But nobody knew nothing. Nothing.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was great.
As Erik said, it was brilliant, and you helped push Pentagon to the moon to where he is now.
Yeah.
I mean, that he was pretty popular down in Mexico, but I mean, up here in the States, like, we didn't have any recognition of him until Lucha Underground, and because of your storyline, it just pushed him to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very blessed to have been part of something like that, because it's who's going to do that now? There's nobody up and coming, because now it's like the UFC. It's so repetitive. There's nothing stands out. It's the same guys. They have the same body type. They have the same equipment. They have the same haircuts. They're all dating each other. So it's like a little group of kindergarten kids. And that really gets a lot of the guys mad. Like, so I'm not disrespecting. What I'm saying is, because of the creative teams behind the big show, you know what I mean? Even though there are phenomenally talented pro wrestlers, like Ricochet was in New Japan, brother. He had the belt in Japan for years, and then he's got to come and do what he's told.
Yeah.
Come on, man. So I don't really see the freedom for anybody to go that deep off the charts yet. I don't see it coming.
Mhm.
And so I was very fortunate to be a part of something so impactful.
I want to say thank you, and please don't stop doing what you do with the the Facebook messages and
Thank you.
posts. I really love them, and I'm not the only one. I see what everyone says and on those posts, and everybody is always so excited.
It's crazy. I'm just grateful, man, because I'm helping people. You know what I mean? It's a good feeling.
Well, thank you for it, because we're all very happy about it.
When's this coming out? This figure?
The new figure, we're about to go to first stage now, or the next step right now is sculpt, and that usually takes a little while. We have, if a sculptor's working on, this is just kind of good for the fans to hear too. If a sculptor's working on 1 6-inch figure at a time, it probably takes about 2 weeks in total to do.
6 inch? That's bigger than my penis. I hope they can make it a little, make me look like a man.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
basically he's saying kind of, in the pants area, you know what to do, man.
Yeah. What is that? Is that the tip of a toothpick?
Yeah.
That's what they say. That's what they say now. And I'm like,
well, actually, since your figure is so tall, you'll actually be our Penta and Phoenix figures are 6.5 inches, so they're 6.5 inches. Your figure will actually be, I believe, 6.75 inches, because you're actually quite a bit taller than they are. And so our figures are actually scaled.
But they got a bigger ego, so where does it? What the hell?
Well, that's contained in the mask, which you don't need.
Well, we got to talk, brother. You got to see the new gimmick.
Oh, nice! I can't wait.
Yeah, it's out there. It's out there.
Fantastic.
Vampiro, thank you very much, man. It means a lot. Thank you for the years of wrestling, man. You've entertained us in WCW and in Mexico. So from us over here, we thank you.
Thank you, but I'm only starting, dude. Back on the circuit. I got a tour booked that starts September, October. So far, the rest of it from October till December, I think I got like 48 dates or something like that.
You hit
in
Northern
the United States.
Wow. You hit Northern California?
Yeah, well, I'm relocating there to Los Angeles in 3 weeks, and we're reopening Santino Brothers School. I'll be one of the partners with Joey, and I'll be one of the trainers there. So I'll be around that area a lot.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so,
amazing.
So if there's a show that promoters want me on, all I got to do is reach out, and I'll be there. You know what I'm saying?
Beautiful, man. We thank you, man. Thank you for your time too tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a good time. We'll be waiting on that email.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you again, Vamp.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, sir.
Looking forward to it, and count on me 100%. Thank you for
Absolutely.
keeping it alive, man. Thank you for thanks for even considering me. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, and it's an honor. So.
Nah, man. Let's just do good things. Let's help people.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank you,
man.
sir.
Be safe.
You too.
Welcome back, everybody. That was amazing. I hope you were entertained by the Vampiro himself.
Yeah, thank you, Vampiro, for sitting down with us. That was a lot of fun. Very knowledgeable. Thank you very, very much, man. We appreciate that so much over here. So thank you for your time this evening. But Erik, I think it's time to get into previous Vampiro figures. So in 2000, he had the Unleashed Vampiro figure. Accessory was a trash can and a ladder.
That's this guy here.
Look at that beauty of a figure.
With his, hold on, let me get his hair out of his face. I love that this figure has the rooted hair. Like, it's crazy.
Yes, and that ToyBiz didn't do that for anyone else.
No, he was the only one. Even like Kevin Nash, Lex Luger, anybody else who had long hair, it was only Vampiro that got the rooted. Now, Vampiro had the dreads at the time, so it kind of lent itself a little bit more to this visual scale wise. But he is the only one that had that.
And can you go into the design of it? The Vampiro talked about it while we were interviewing him, as you guys heard, but he mentioned the Japanese writing on the side of the tights.
Yeah, he said it's a Japanese prayer. He said it's not translated anymore, and I actually do not know what it might say. But I always loved the writing on his tights, and I think he had two versions of this at WCW, where he had it in the black and white and he had it in the red as well, where it had the same thing in the red. He also, this figure, let me get his jacket off here. I did not buy this figure carded, just so you know. I had this figure. So he had the kind of Jerry only Misfits jacket, which is, soft, so it can come off and on. A lot of the WCW figures, some of them had a tattoo here and a tattoo there and stuff. Like Rey Mysterio didn't even have like a lot of tattoos yet, and now he's covered, but back then he didn't. But this Vampiro figure, he is completely tatted up. His arms, his chest, his back. He's got the clown on the back.
And for those that were watching the video, Vampiro talked about the tattoo work that ToyBiz did, capturing the one on the arm, on his left arm, I should say, a kind of upper shoulder area.
And that clown was like a recurring motif with Vampiro product at the time. It was on T-shirts, and then this is the unleashed version of the figure, which is what we're technically talking about. But we should touch on that. There was also the TNT, the T-shirts and tattoos figure. That was the same figure. Yep. Except he had a soft goods T-shirt that had that clown, that jester skull clown on the T-shirt as well.
Yep, they were marketing that one.
Yeah.
eBay loose $45 to $55. Is that still kind of hovering around there, or due to recent events, because YouTube doesn't like us saying the C word, so the prices going up?
The prices may be going up. I had done some looking, before we typed up some of this info, and they seem to be loose, going for about 55 to sometimes a little higher than that right now. Like the 45 to 55 was like a couple months ago, but now it does seem like the stuff that's on there right now is going like 60, 65, which is quite a bit for a loose figure,
to say the least. That's what's going on right now. My brother and I call it, I can't say it because of YouTube. YouTube is very strict about that word right now. But anyways, a lot of figures, Hasbro's, green cards especially, they're just through the roof right now. LJNs are old figures that capture people's nostalgia is skyrocketing right now.
Yeah, so, I've noticed that too. I'm a big Eddie fan, and of course, who isn't? But I've been looking for a couple of his figures actually as well recently, from Mattel even, and they're not even that old. And they just some of them that were like 45 or 60 a couple months ago are like 100. Like it's just been this huge jump.
Yeah, we have our theories, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
Exactly. So you put on here, and actually thank you for doing the notes again this week. eBay mint on card, $200. You saw one on there for?
I saw them finished, sold auctions, $200 for carded of the unleashed version with the leather jacket. And at first, the reason I put the question marks and stuff in the notes is because I could only find one. So I feel like there's not a good cross-reference going here. But yeah, at least one of them sold for 200 plus. It was like 207 or something like that. And I thought that was pretty crazy. But I will say this, When these were coming out in 2000, I went on a lot of toy runs looking for a lot of toys because my collecting was a little out of control. And I never saw this wave of figures at all, let alone this Vampiro with the vest. The Vampiro I had back then was the later TNT version with the t-shirt.
Okay.
So maybe this wave of figures is just really that. Maybe it had a short release. I'm not positive on that.
Gotcha. Where were you living at the time?
I lived in Savannah, Georgia, so I was in the, middle of the wrestling, probably one of the heavier wrestling areas collector-wise.
So that's probably why you couldn't find it, because
That's possible, yeah.
Georgia, WCW, out here, man, we had them all the time. So.
Oh, really? That's interesting. No.
Yeah, we were swimming in them, to be honest. If only we had the internet back then. But
yeah.
Vampiro is made using the torso, arms, and legs of Buff Bagwell. This is interesting. I didn't know that. With a new head and hands. The torso is also later used on the first Marvel Legends. Oh, I'm not a comic book fan. Namor the Submariner.
So I'm gonna segue into a weird story here too. Sure. But I've talked about before how I tend to feel that the WCW line, ToyBiz line, was kind of a stepping stone to what we would eventually get from Marvel Legends, which would eventually go on from ToyBiz to Hasbro. But Marvel Legends at ToyBiz really revolutionized kind of collector 6-inch action figures. And I feel what they were doing in their WCW line was like I said, a stepping stone to the insane amount of articulation and engineering that went into Marvel Legends. But one of the interesting things about that is you saw some of the parts from the ToyBiz WCW line reused and kind of hidden away in Marvel Legend figures. And one of them was this torso was reused on the Namor the Submariner figure, that the first Namor figure that Marvel Legends did, where he's got the black vest and the black pants and like he had like the water spout that he could clip into. The other oddball one that was used was a Sandman hack. They used his torso for a Thor figure. In like wave 1 or 2. Like, it was very interesting usage because like the torso was actually ended up being completely covered in a soft plastic sheath that had the Thor details, like the 4 big discs and the points on the shoulders and stuff. But it was just very interesting that they use that piece underneath that Thor figure.
That's actually pretty interesting, and that's the kind of knowledge that you bring to this. I know there's a lot of collectors out there that will be like, oh, the first Andre the Giant and Jakks Classic Series 1 had R3 parts, or no, actually that's not true. I think it was Undertaker that had that. But anyways, reusing parts. Yeah. And a lot of collectors notice that stuff, but that's the stuff that you notice and you can bring to the show, and I actually appreciate you doing that. The prototype for this figure had imaginary referencing the Misfits t-shirt and armbands and sculpted dreadlocks. This all changed at some point during the production of this figure. The Misfits change likely was due to licensing and IP protection. The hair may have changed for any number of reasons, mostly. As you said, I would bet dollars to donuts that they realized they could do the rooted cord and just ran with it because it was way more fun than that. The only main downside to this figure is that his hands are sculpted open and he can't hold accessories because of his hand. Because of this, I firmly believe all figures should have, at the very least, one C-grip hand.
The original prototype of this figure had a Misfits t-shirt with like the big classic Misfits skull, and he had armbands with the Misfits logo, which at the time Vampiro often wore into the ring. But it changed at some point. And he also had sculpted dreadlock, like the dreads were sculpted like as part of his head. And at some point in between when they showed that at Toy Fair and the figure came out, they had dropped the t-shirt and all of the Misfits imagery, and they had changed his hair to this rooted cord, and the cords are thick.
Mm-hmm.
So it really works really nicely for the dreads. I will say this: the final likeness looks way more like Vampiro than the initial sculpted dreadlock likeness in the photos. And my guess is with the hair, they just the ToyBiz guys were having fun, and they were all about having fun with the toy design and stuff like that. So my guess is at some point they realized they could do this, and they just thought it worked really well for this figure, so they kept it. I'm not positive on that.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess with the Misfits logo was they probably found out that the Misfits would require some sort of IP, money and stuff. The Misfits, they know what they're doing business wise, and they know they protect their intellectual property. So that's probably why the Misfits logos and stuff were eliminated. In the end, I like what came out better than what was shown.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. I absolutely love it. As a music fan, I wish the Misfits shirt was on.
Absolutely.
but like you said, I'm not opposed to what they gave us instead.
Yeah.
So
right around this time, actually, I was I was a manager at KB Toys, and one Halloween I dressed up as one of the Misfits, as Jerry Only, and I'm talking with Devil's Lock, Misfits tank top, leather vest, boots, leather pants. I was decked out, and I went to work like that with the makeup on, and I mean it was I scared a lot of kids, but it was fun. And because scaring children is hilarious. And I may have been really drunk at the time, because when I worked at KB, I was drunk a lot.
Allegedly. Oh wait, no, you're saying it, so it's okay.
No, KB doesn't exist anymore. I'll say it. I was drunk a lot at the time when I worked at KB. But then also the other thing, I firmly believe that action figures should have at least one C-grip hand. And the reason for that is play. I believe that the C-grip, when I say C-grip, I mean basically this, slight overhang on the fingers, so they can hold, whether it's an accessory, whether a kid wants to hang them from the edge of a shelf, whatever. I think a toy needs that. I think an action figure needs that. If you want one hand to be a fist, that's fine. You want one hand to be open, that's fine. But one hand should have to be that C-grip. That said, the figure is still great, but yeah, he can't hold any accessories, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Visually, great figure. Just an absolutely fantastic figure. And Vampiro also had some other ToyBiz figures. He did come in a 3-pack with Jeff Jarrett and Buff Bagwell.
Yep.
Which was interesting.
Yeah,
but...
well, I mean, Vampiro was there through the end of WCW, so that, during that time with Jeff Jarrett, he was, Jeff Jarrett was kind of an A-lister there when he came over. I think it's interesting. I don't remember Buff Bagwell and Jeff Jarrett ever having a feud or anything. I don't recall any of that.
I don't either.
So it is kind of a strange 3-pack. What I really love about that 3-pack, though, is, and we'll have images of it up here, but Jeff Jarrett is wearing the T-shirt that says Slapnuts on it, which is hilarious on a toy package.
Yes. Did you just pop Christopher over there?
Yeah, he just started laughing. So
our famed editor Christopher.
What's interesting is that the other thing I find one, I didn't know that there's a couple of these Thunder Slam Wrestlers 3-packs from ToyBiz WCW that I didn't know existed. There's a couple of other character versions and stuff as well. But the Vampiro is the same figure as the other two. He does not have the vest or the T-shirt. But what I find interesting is on the back of the package. So I'll actually illustrate with the figure. With the single carded figures, it says he has a kicking action. So you twist his legs and he kind of kicks. But then on the Thunder Slam packaging, it says he has a weapon swinging action where you twist his upper half, and that's just, it's just a fun thing that, that his action actually is 2 in 1 automatically because of the way that the engineering goes. So they took it. I think it's cool that ToyBiz took advantage of that and worked it into 2 different action features. Like it's a new figure. It's not. It's the same figure. They just.
So when we go on to talking about Kellyanne figures, do you have any laying around that you can? Because usually you bring the figure to the show. So
I do
I'm like,
not actually.
Okay, that's a couple dollars right there.
It is, and I've been keeping an eye on the 2 I want the most are Vampiro and La Parka. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on them, but the La Parka I think it's the only La Parka figure out there that I can think of. Like he's pretty pricey, and
yeah.
So I don't know if I'll actually have one in hand when we talk about the Kellyanne figures. I wish I could, but I do have limits to what I can spend.
Well, let's hit up Kevin.
Yes. Yeah.
We have an exciting segment up next, but we also have an ad break. Up next, we have Boss Fights Reveal. But first, let's hear from LuchaCentral.com.
If you're listening to this and you haven't visited LuchaCentral.com, it's time to do it. LuchaCentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. From weekly polls to annual awards. Seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And on top of that, it's free. LuchaCentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.
As everyone heard earlier, Boss Fight Studios and Master Republic is coming out with a Vampiro figure, and that's exciting news. Erik, first off, congratulations. You're working on one of your favorite wrestlers of all time. That must be huge for you.
It is. It's so exciting to work on him.
Yeah, I'm happy for Vampiro because this is his first figure in 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's being made by a creator that loved Vampiros. So there's going to be a little extra love in there into the figure. So anyways, Erik, so you're going back to his Mexico days.
Yes. It's kind of his CMLL era look that we're going after. Like it's that, what he wore back in the early 90s when he first went to Mexico. Kevin and I went around a few times. At one point I was kind of pushing for a kind of later 90s, but not WCW yet, look where he was kind of pretty boy type of thing, because as we said earlier, he was a good looking guy and he was in shape, and he was, he had this kind of, for a little while he had this kind of romantic vampire type of shtick, and originally I was kind of pushing for that, but we kind of went back and forth a little bit and landed more on where he really started to really become the Vampiro that we know now, with the more vampire like look and feel. He wasn't in the full makeup yet, but he was becoming a lot more like that dark character.
So as you mentioned with Vampiro, that there's going to be a lot of figures of him coming out from Boss Fight Studios and Master Republic. The first one coming out is the less articulated one that you mentioned.
Yes.
To him. What made you go with that one instead of going straight to the elite? No, I shouldn't say elite style, the more articulated.
The premium line is kind of our elite version, is our premium line. And it's the main reason is because the elite, Fanaticos, which is what we call our kind of basic line, is going to be happening a little faster. So whereas the premiums, because of their higher price point, because of their more complex engineering, sculpting, and then of course production, we're going to be doing fewer premium figures a year. Mm-hmm. And we wanted Vampiro in the hands of the fans faster. So putting him in the Fanatico series first will ensure that happens. Whereas, we will be doing a premium figure of him but we had to kind of to get him out faster, we needed to kind of put him into the Fanaticos line, because it's just that whole line is going to be moving quicker than the premium line.
So Vampiro will have the dreadlocks. What color tights did you put him in for his Fanatico figure?
The Fanatico figure is it's the black tights with the red. It's got like red like points but coming up from the boots to like the thighs, and then it's got like a red belt around the waist, and it's like a dark red and black. He wasn't quite as covered in tattoos as he is nowadays, but he did have some tattoos, so he'll have those. And he has like the Alice Cooper-esque lines down the eye, from the eyes down the cheeks.
Nice. I'm so excited and so happy for you guys. I can see that grin over there.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. In fact, I brought up the ICP title earlier, and I actually made this to go with my the original ICP title was an altered WWE World Championship belt. So I got an extra World Championship belt from a Mattel version, and I
the Winged Eagle. Yeah,
I repainted it so my Vampiro could have his title, it had a red strap, and this belt I actually stripped the gold off of it so I could paint it up instead of it being that vac metal, because I wanted to remove all the WWE logos and stuff. So
you guys are talented over there, I tell you.
That was just for myself. I just did that because I wanted it. So
you have quite a few options to go with for the Vampiro figure. Do you have an idea of where you're going to go with the premium?
That really depends on Vamp. The current plan is, his most iconic look is the ghoul type of makeup and stuff like that, and that would be the one that I think would bring the most people, and that's where the premium line should always kind of go to their most iconic look. And so we would probably aim at that. That said, once we have a premium figure, we are planning repaints and redecos of the premium figures. So even Penta and Phoenix, we're actually selling them very fast right now. Our pre-sales, they've been going really, really well, and we're really excited about it. So we do have repaints planned, although we don't want to, we're not ready to pull the trigger on those just yet, because we need to see what the final sales are. But once we have a Vampiro sculpt ready and done, you'll see figures repainted and redone and reused, maybe with new head and stuff like that. The other thing we're doing though is our premium and our Fanatico series are made to look good together, even though they have different articulation and engineering. But the parts that do have the same engineering are things like the hands, the heads, the boots, and any secondaries. Like a secondary is like a piece that goes over the main sculpt. So like an elbow pad on a WWE figure is a secondary. A belt is a secondary because it's not part of the actual body of the figure. And those secondaries, hands, boots, heads will be swappable with the premium line.
Oh, okay.
Between the two lines. So if we do a WCW era version of Vampiro for premium, we can take that head and those parts and put them on the base body that we created for the Fanatico series, and put out a Fanatico's version of that costume or that look. Or Vampiro had so many good looks over the years, different tights, different, sometimes he had the big baggy pants, sometimes he had the tights, sometimes he had the writing, sometimes he has all these different looks that we're probably going to touch on most of that as over the years, including hopefully his, we had talked about with Vampiro the Lucha Underground match with Penta, and it's one of the greatest matches of all time. So we would like to touch on that for both of them if we can.
That's great, man. Well, happy for you guys. Happy for Vampiro. This is awesome, guys. And thank you for bringing that to the show. I mean, it just felt appropriate that it would be announced with Vampiro on the show. But it's great, man. I'm very happy for you guys.
Thank you. I was very happy to break that news today. We have 3 other amazing wrestlers, luchadors, in that wave of figures.
Mm-hmm.
But Vamp is the first one we're announcing, so we'll see. I don't know when we'll announce the other 3 yet, but we don't have a plan. But because Vamp was on the show today and we were talking about the figure, it seemed like the right place to announce it here. So
yeah. Well, that rounds out Lucha Libre Figures and Facts episode 3. Erik, would you like to get any plugs out of the way?
Yeah, absolutely. First, a huge shout out to Vampiro for just being Vampiro. Thank you for joining us today. You're amazing. You're inspirational. And I'm so glad to have you here. I will email you, I promise. As always, check out Boss Fight Studio on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're Boss Fight Studio on all of those. And of course, pre-order the Legends of Lucha Libre line at bossfightshop.com. Just so everybody knows, getting this out here public a little bit more lately is our original release date for the first wave of Legends of Lucha Libre was August. That was our original window of release. Due to coronavirus slowdowns at the factory, our factory is still only at 50% staff. And that we're not the only ones. It's like all factories right now. And you're starting to see it now. Like my wife and I were in Target today and noticing how empty, not the food, but the product shelves across the store are thin. And the reason for that is we are hitting the original slowdown because of the virus, because of the C word, the original slowdown. We're seeing that factory slowdown now. And that includes all industries. So we are looking at late fall now for the release. We are still working with them. I have seen the early first shots out of the molds. So the tooling is done, but not finely tuned yet. Like we still have some stuff to tune to make sure the parts are tight and the parts fit together. I've said this before. Boss Fight Studio has a very high level of expectation of quality, probably higher than is necessary, but that's just who we are. And so yeah, our figures are coming. BossFightShop.com is where you can pre-order them. It will be late fall now, but we do promise the best lucha figures ever out there.
It's not just you. I mean, Super 7, Figures Toy Company, Mattel hit a slow point. And you know how tough it is to find Spam out here? I mean, come on.
I do not know.
Oh,
as a vegetarian, I do not know how hard it is to find Spam.
Well, then you won't like Spam. Trust me.
No.
But anyways, you're 100% correct. It is throughout the board over here. It just not even toys. It's paper towels,
everything,
toilet paper, stocking the shelves. You're 100% correct about that.
And right now it's mostly hitting what we've noticed is it's mostly hitting like the product like kitchen appliances and summer stuff. Like the summer stuff is all completely empty because there just wasn't enough stock of it. Like Target's summer section is empty already. Like summer it's only just started, and it's all gone. So yeah, and it is going to unfortunately be like this for all production industries for a little while. The food is just now getting back on track. Yep. So I still want to give a huge shout out to, of course, Mass Republic, Kevin Kleinrock, for the opportunity to do this podcast. Our amazing partnership with Legends of Lucha Libre, Lucha Central Network, fantastic. If you're not listening to all the podcasts on Lucha Libre, on the Lucha Central Network, you should do yourself a favor because they're really great podcasts. Especially that Lucha Masks, the Masks one is just fantastic.
It's riveting.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, a huge shout out to our editor and producer, Chris McLeod. Be sure to listen to his Full Force, a fan cast about the world of Action Force and G.I. Joe. Longest podcast name ever. But seriously, it's a great podcast. I'm often on it, but not all the time because Chris doesn't want to hear me ramble on that much. But I am often on it. But it's a great podcast, and they don't just talk about GI Joe. They kind of cover anything that's from that era of toy collecting. And a huge shout out to the current voice of Lucha Central Network, Denise Salcedo. She does amazing promos. She's been doing all of Lucha Central Network stuff, and thank you, Denise. Make sure you follow her on Twitter at _Denise Salcedo, and she's amazing. And she doesn't just cover Lucha; she covers WWE and all this stuff. She's an amazing newscaster.
That sounds good, man.
Yeah. How about you?
Just check out the Fully Posable Wrestling Figure podcast. It's me and my real life brother, not storyline brother, Scott, who we just sit there and we talk about figures today, figures of the past. If you guys like LJNs, Hasbros, Remco's, Galoobs, we even did an episode on Popey. So check all of those out at fullyposablepodcast.com. That's it for me. And also, actually, you know what? One more. I just want to throw it out to everybody on the Lucha Central Network. Everybody's killing it. All episodes
they really
are.
It's been fantastic. It's a fantastic network. I've been loving the podcasts and the shows.
I can't keep up with Kevin. He's just like,
No.
oh, this is number 2 or number 3, and I'm like, wait, what's going on here? This is good
crazy,
news.
and he's been, since the day I met him, he's been like this. So, and from what everyone else that has known him longer than me has all said the same thing. Like, this is just how he is. He runs at 100 miles an hour all the time, constantly. It's crazy. I don't know how the guy keeps up.
Well, shout out to Kevin. Well, that's our 3rd show, Eric. Where it's in the books. It was a good one. We had Vampiro on. You did a reveal. This is great, man. So I thank everyone for listening to Lucha Figures and Facts episode 3. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Eric. Until next time.
Until next time.